Hello, Julie.
Hi, Tina. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm feeling. I want to say I feel a bit odd
I do
today.
too. Yeah,
Yeah,
right? Yes.
and and it's interesting too. I want to say like I feel all morning I felt like crying, and it's like I know
Yeah,
it's not. I don't think it's mine. Like I don't think it has to do with me. So
yeah.
I'm just wondering if something going on out there where
I
I'm
think so
feeling
too.
tears.
Yeah, I feel that too.
So
I do. Like
yeah,
stuck in
so
my throat kind of feeling. Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if like maybe the collective is feeling sad or
Yes.
people are, or
Yeah.
there's, a strong presence that people feel like they want to just break down and cry.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah,
It's been hard. It's been really, really hard for everyone. It's been a hard year. We're coming to the end of it. People can see the light at the end of the tunnel for the end of the year, but now they're starting to think, well, then what? It doesn't seem like anything's changed. Things have just seemed to gotten worse. So is 2021 going to bring us even harder times? That's a big fear because we all thought we just barely survived 2020.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
scary.
And it seems like too, um, certain areas are resurging again, like they're making their rounds again.
Right? It's true. Here,
So
especially in the US, it's
yeah,
really spiking. Yeah.
yeah. And I
And there's
feel,
talk of shutdown, and that's scary, and economies are really scary, and
yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, yeah, and it feels like it must be a very emotional time. Like maybe that's what we're sensing is like emotions are heightened again. So it's almost like, okay, like over the summer and early fall, people were feeling okay. It's like maybe we got
Right.
this. We're coming out of it. We're, going to,
Yeah.
back into life again. And then
Yeah.
now it's like, um, I'm going to say, a lot of it related to COVID again. So it's
Yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah,
you know,
for sure. Yeah.
things, are resurging again, making the rounds. And I've noticed like, people posting, strong opinions and different articles,
Yeah.
related to COVID, like whether, you're on, like taking sides, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
do you feel
Oh,
COVID is about
conspiracy
this or do you feel
theories galore.
or
Yes,
about that, right? And it's like,
absolutely.
yeah, and people pushing back, right? People pushing back, like they don't,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, everyone has their own truth. It's hard to say. Sooner or later, you have to step away from the opinion of the group. The group thinking. You have to step away from that because you don't know who to believe. Everyone says don't believe this, don't believe that. They don't ever tell you who to believe. There's no guidance there. So the only thing you can do is believe yourself and the opinions that you have formulated along the way in regards to a virus and how dangerous is this to you, this virus, and how would it affect me if I got this virus. And
yeah,
you just have to start thinking logically in a very self-centered type of way in this kind of chaos because it's just too hard to go with the masses right now. There's too many conspiracy theories, there's too many ideas.
yeah, yeah. And I agree with you. It's like, who do you believe, right? And I mean, I try to be very open-minded. It's like, okay, what's
Yeah.
this person trying to say? And then what is this other
Right, what are
person
they
trying to
getting at
share?
here?
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And
Right.
I'm getting to the point where, um, I want proof now, right?
Right. Oh, yes.
So
Yeah.
so if and it's not about,
Hmm.
I'm trying to discount or call anyone a liar. It's not about that, but it's like, okay, if you're going to say, um, there's an underlying, um, idea, like, with like COVID,
Hmm.
there's some groups that are saying there's an underlying idea or presence, connected to COVID, like there's a mass plan or, whatever. And
Hmm.
it's like, okay, if
Hmm.
that's the case, um, I want to see, like, I want to feel like there's believable proof, or there's concrete proof, and what's going to be done about it. What's the solution then? Because it seems like no one's
Right.
doing anything about it, right? Like if this
Right.
is like, let's go, like, if this is a conspiracy,
Hmm.
if there's a hidden agenda, like, okay, I want what's
Right.
going to be done, what's being done about it then, right? And I think that's maybe what's
Right.
unnerving with people, like people are feeling lost and maybe pushing back, right? Do you
Right.
think?
Yeah. Well, I do. I feel like there's this, well, I feel that. I do. I feel the blame, and there's a lot of shaming going on for what you do believe in. So it's hard to even express what you believe in because you'll be shamed by that belief because it's not what they believe. So there is a sense of that, but there's also a sense of a real, so that leads to my next thought of the real sense of restriction. I think
Mm,
everybody just feels so restricted, whether that's the government imposing that worldwide or your family members. There's even a divide down into the family members now. People are being quarantined in the same home with different beliefs, and I can't imagine how hard that would be, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
So you're trying to hold on to your truth while the people you love and have always respected their opinion are telling you you're wrong or you're stupid for thinking that. And then you're
right,
you're so shocked, because
yeah,
it's how you feel,
yeah,
So you feel
yeah,
discounted, you feel not listened to, you feel
yeah,
restricted.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a time where it's like, people want to know where you stand, but if you do share that, it doesn't matter or it doesn't count for anything.
Right.
And it can get into a
Right.
heated argument, and then yeah, so and then it's
Yeah.
frustrating because I've also seen posts like people trying to push you, like, well, speak up, don't be silent. Well, I can understand why
Yeah.
people
Right.
are silent because they're scared
Oh yeah.
to
Yeah.
say
Right.
anything, because maybe they don't want to get
They'll be
into an
judged.
argument. Yeah, and they don't want to get into an
Right.
argument. Yeah, so it's
Well,
a tough
because
time.
there's a tendency worldwide right now too. People are listening purely to respond. They're not listening to understand. And that's a huge problem. If we could just close that gap, if we could just listen to each other to understand each other
Yeah,
instead of formulating our response to what you're
yeah,
saying, um, that would help. It would help.
yeah. And
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I find it very confusing too, because there's, let's say we got experts, right, in certain fields, and even they are
Mhm.
divided, it seems, at
Right.
this time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's not it's not an easy go.
Well, regardless of if COVID is a hoax, if it's real, I have proof in my own life that it's real. I know a lot of people do, and but let's just say it's a hoax. The idea of COVID, a hoax or not, has disrupted every single one of our lives and has thrown every single one of us out of our normal routine, out of our lives. Away from relationships we've relied on our whole life, and so I guess it doesn't matter. What does it matter if it's a hoax or not? We're
Yeah,
so divided in the argument of it that who gives a shit about COVID anymore? It's a distraction. It's a huge distraction from the problem, and the problem is a virus that the whole world is experiencing right now. The numbers are going up regardless of what anyone believes about it. So it's real that way. So what does
yeah,
it matter? The rest is just a distraction. It's look at the shiny object. Don't look at what's really going on. And what's really going on is a division, a deep, deep division between people, and the point gets lost in the
yeah,
proving of it.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, 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 yeah,
So I
yeah,
guess that would be the encouragement, is we all have our truths. We are not idiots. We don't need to be told what's real and what's not real. We have our own life experiences to tell us what's real and not real. I know what I believe is real and not real, and so do you, Tina.
mhm,
You know what's real to you.
yeah,
You have your truth, and so does everybody else. You know, you have to
Yeah.
respect that. You have to respect that even if they're disagreeing with you, it's really their truth. They're not going to convince you. You're not going to convince them. And there's no
Yeah.
reason to. I mean, we are all here
Yeah.
to input these individual truths for the broader perspective. You
Yeah.
know, this life, we're here for the contrast. That's why we're here, to learn through the contrast. There's no other way to learn except through contrast. There's no other way to elevate except through contrast. So it's that transitional time that's so scary, because we're all elevating to these new beliefs, and we'll get there with our own truths. We'll know. You do now. So just, that's, I guess, the message of encouragement I can think of, right, is know your truth. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And maybe sometimes too,
And
it's like if you're feeling overwhelmed or it's too much, step
yeah.
away.
Yeah.
Like take a break from
Yeah.
it. Stop exploring or stop probing.
That's right. It's too much.
It's
Right?
too
We were
much.
talking about this. You will find proof of these conspiracy theories. If you dip your toe in these, and this is the truth. This is the
Yeah.
truth. You'll find proof you're looking for. You will always find the proof you're looking for. So be careful what you're looking for. Put your focus on something that will really bring you a return in
Yeah.
your quest to learn about it.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Hmm. Yes. So we're going to put it out there. I don't know if anyone feels like sharing, um,
Challenges.
like any challenges, or if they're
Hi,
having.
Sheila.
Yes. Hi,
Yeah.
Sheila. Thanks for joining. So we have more people watching because I can see the numbers at the top.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if anyone's brave enough if they want to share any kind of struggle or pain they feel
Yeah.
they're
Maybe
stuck
have
in.
to,
Like, yeah. And it's
right?
like if you need any words of encouragement or support from us, we don't know how we're going to provide that. Like we we have our tools
Right?
handy just in case. Like if we feel like, oh, Julie might say, well, I want to pick a card around that, then she might. Or we might share like what
Yeah.
we, feel intuitively. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Just to
so we
see.
don't
It
know.
seems like everybody has. What were you going to say?
Oh, no, you go ahead. You go ahead.
I was going to say we have no idea what we're going to be talking about today. We just know that we're feeling challenged, and we don't really know what we're feeling, right, Tina? It's just like
Yeah.
this odd energy, like you were saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
So maybe
I
I'll share
think,
something from
yeah.
my
Yes,
life.
good.
Um, so last week was a tough week for me.
It was for you,
And
especially
yeah,
technology for you. Yes.
technology was like my enemy all last week.
Yeah.
So trouble with um, different programs on my computer. Um,
Yeah.
I
It was a mess.
Yeah, I started using a website company. I hired, to take over to look after my website because I was tired of doing it, and that's been a tough go. So
Yeah.
yeah, so um, still struggling with that. So I don't know if there's anyone out there who's listening. If you can recommend a company that does websites, I would appreciate that.
Right.
Because I'm second guessing my choice again.
Yeah, you need a new company for sure. So you
And
were
and
challenged. You were.
yeah, and then the tip of the iceberg was I dropped my cell phone and done. It was done.
Toast. Don't you hate it?
Yeah. Oh, Joy, thank you for
I see. That's
sharing.
my Aunt
Yeah.
Joy. Yes.
Is
I
it?
love my
Oh,
Aunt Joy. Yeah, that's
oh,
her. That's the one I was
okay.
talking about. Yes.
Lovely.
Her anxieties are through the roof the past few days following the broadcast. Yeah. My
Yeah.
anxieties, I have to say, I've been telling Tina this too. I've been very, very anxious, very anxious. And Tuesday, after our broadcast Monday, I have two chickens. I have Laverne and
Oh,
Shirley, and
right.
I've been loving these chickens through COVID because we've been quarantined and they've been giving us all these eggs and wonderful chickens. But
Yeah.
so Tuesday morning, I woke up and Shirley was just gone. She just died. It looked like she had just fallen over and died. There was no ruffled feathers or anything. So it started with that with me. I had felt something coming, I felt this. So I
Mm-hmm.
just sat out there and cried with Shirley, for so long Tuesday morning. But I've been that way too. I've just been anxious. And then, I'm just so grateful for her eggs and everything she brought me. She brought me so much joy, so I was grateful for that. But it's the energy, Aunt Joy. It's the collective energy is feeling all of this too, because it was a chicken. I told Tita, over a chicken, why could I be this upset over a chicken? But it's that loss. We're losing so much of our normal lives and our routines and what we've counted on and opinions of people that we love, and that's been stable for us, and it's the tower energy of November. It's that crumbling of the foundations, and that's scary. That's just scary to go through. But it's the contrast we're here for. So it's that other
Yeah.
side of all of this that we're headed towards. We are headed towards some celebrations and peace and calm and joy and love, unconditional love too, a much more tolerant society where with each other's opinions and ideas, because we've all been so hurt by each other, and felt bad for what we believe in. So that will propel us to a huge tolerance of opinions and ideas. And so we've just got to hold on through this transitional period into the age of Aquarius.
Yeah.
And do it together. Don't think we can't do that. We've got to do it together, stick together and unite,
Yeah.
and say, I'm feeling anxious, and have me too, and so you're not feeling so alienated and so isolated in that anxiety. We're all feeling this. So maybe
Yeah.
that helps.
Yeah. Um, yeah. And I want to say, like, there's like, there's this pull, like, again, I'm going to go like, it seems like right now it's like you're either on this side or that side,
Right.
right?
Huge
And
divide. Right.
and it seems like also too, like there's this energy of like, hurry up and pick your side, or you got to pick your side, right? Like there's
Right.
no
This
middle
sense of
ground right now.
urgency. Right.
Yeah.
You
And it's
right.
like,
Right.
I almost want to say like, okay, hang on, everybody, or both sides, hang on.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
you know,
hang
I
on.
I
You'll
need
be okay. Yeah.
I need time to feel things out, or I need the time to know what is what, or to gather,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And I think too, we're even seeing, and we're not getting like any clarity. I'm finding, and the people like
Right.
we've looked
Yeah.
up to. Okay, so like, um, I'm not saying
Mm-hmm.
like that. That's how. That's a good thing to do, but it's like we have our leaders, right? Whether that's in the government
Right.
or in medicine, right? Because there's certain leaders in that field that are
Mm-hmm.
appearing before us more frequently than, so we have all these different leaders, and it's like they're not being clear, or we don't feel like we're getting the clarity or support from them.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Do you know what I
that's all
mean? And I
because of
think that's
political reasons. I know exactly what you mean,
and I think
because
that's
politics
contributing.
have muddied it. Yeah, absolutely. They're restricted in what they can say because the masses are being guided toward an idea about this, and each side wants you to be guided toward their idea about it. So I kind of like just being quiet right now and sitting with what you feel about it. I know people are saying you have to speak up right now, but there's too many voices. There's too many voices for anyone to be heard. So I don't agree quite with that, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. And it's like, what am I going to say? The other thing too, it's like, okay, there's let's say always been this presence of, let's say, corruption, or this,
Right.
not being, going well. And it's like it's becoming more and more apparent, right? So
Oh
it's
yeah.
unsettling to us. So it's like some people need to sit with that for a bit. Like, I'm one of those people, like when I hear something that's shocking or unsettling, I don't
Mhm.
want to make a decision about it right away. It's like I have to
Yeah,
process that, right?
I agree.
And
It's the only way I can.
yeah, and it's almost like, this past year, it's like there's no time. You've got no time to process this,
Yeah,
right?
right? Such a sense of urgency to do something. And I don't know what that is, but I'm waking up going, oh my
Yeah,
God, I got to do. And there's nothing. I don't
yeah,
get what that is.
yeah. And
Hi,
if you're not
Chelsea.
going,
It's Chelsea.
oh,
Yes.
okay, yeah. And it's like
Thank
if
you
you
so
don't
much.
follow this or follow that, you're wrong, or you're being
Yes.
disrespectful, or
Shamed.
you're,
Right.
yeah. And it's almost like, okay, can we just everyone calm down? And again, it goes back to, you're like feeling like you got to pick a side, right? Or,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
I don't have to. Right.
yeah,
That's the answer to that. You don't have to pick a side. You can just
yeah,
stick with what you know. Yeah. Is that
you
Trudy?
know,
Somebody's asking something.
yeah. I just want to address joy because
Oh,
that
yes.
for some, like, that bothers me, but not in a bad way. Like, it bothers me. It's almost like, okay, what can joy do to help her
Mm-hmm.
anxiety?
Yeah. What do
And
you
I
got?
want, so what came to me was EFT. So joy,
EFT.
EFT is, I think the first letter stands for, I don't want to say electronic. What does EFT
I was
stand
going
for?
to
Do you
say
know, Julie?
electro frequency something
Tapping. Yeah,
transmission.
electro-frequency
Tapping.
tapping.
Yes, yes, yes.
So it's it's
Yes.
it's tapping, Joy. I don't know if you ever heard of that. If you're still in the room, like if you wanted to respond. So um you can go on YouTube, and put in EFT or tapping, and there'll be lots of different people who do it. And
Still
it's
do
almost
that.
like just, yeah, so
Yeah.
just explore. And EFT is basically,
Yeah.
and I've stumbled upon it, and I know that helps because I do get anxiety too. And
Mm-hmm.
from time to time I'll get panic attacks. So I use EFT. So when I was feeling overwhelmed, oh, emotional freedom technique. Thanks, Becky.
Oh, thank
She's
you, Becky.
Becky.
Thank you. I love Becky.
You're like you're like our unpaid assistant.
Yes. You're hired, Becky. That's
Yeah.
all.
So yeah,
Emotional
so there's
freedom
different,
technique. Okay.
yeah, so it's tapping, and it's like, use it with your fingers, and there's different points they take you through. So they'll explain. And it's like, you're going through a round of like, okay, what is bothering you? And then you go through a round of upliftment. So it's, using the tapping in different points. And
Oh,
I believe in it.
wonderful.
Like, it's worked for me. Like,
That's
and
wonderful.
yeah, and
Good
I
advice,
mean,
Aunt Joy.
yeah,
She'll
so
do that.
try it out. Yeah, so try that out. I feel that will help, slowly but
She goes
surely,
in
I feel.
and she goes on YouTube to find she listens to Lee Harris and all of the
Right.
card readings I send her for cancer. She's a cancer, so yeah,
Oh,
she
okay.
she'll do that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
you
I
have to
I
let us
feel
know.
that with her. Yeah, yeah, with tapping.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for
So
sharing that
Trude,
with her. That's wonderful.
well, that's going to cover our faces. Okay, I'm going to hide that.
That's okay. You can cover my face anytime.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
So do you want to read Trudy's or Julie?
Um,
Can
I okay, I'm going to jump right in. Maybe someone else is in the same boat. I don't really know how to word it though. I'm not sure whether to stay on the same path I'm on or redirect. Do I stay within security and comfort alone or do I make a change? Hmm, that's a
yeah.
tough one. I got to see more. Yeah. And hope for something new and different to come my way. I'm scared to go that direction, but I feel like it's a trade off. my comfort zone or my sanity too. I'm like, is that say I'm in my 50s? My eyes are
Yeah.
so bad. Do I really want to
Yeah.
spend my life at this point? Yeah. Do I really
Yeah.
want to upend my life at this point? That's a good question, right? I don't know if that makes sense. That makes total sense to
Yeah.
me. I mean, that's a decision where you're sitting there in safety and security, and yet you have this opportunity that can bring you more, but you're going to have to maybe sacrifice to get to that. You know, that's a definite challenge for all of us, right? Right, Tina?
Yeah.
That's scary. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's exciting
And
too.
yeah. So um I I want to almost say, so when I tune into what, Trudy shared, like I want to cry for her. So it
Yeah,
feels
she's in that kind of decision making.
like she's kind of like, I don't want to say depressed because I don't feel it's that bad, but I want to say she's sad because I
Yeah,
feel like, yeah, like I feel like her life doesn't hold joy anymore. I think that's what it comes down to. She doesn't have joy
right.
in her life. So, and it has nothing to do with the people in her, around her, like has nothing to do with family. So it's like, because she loves her kids, she loves, you know, um,
Yeah,
the people in her life. It has nothing to do with it. It just feels like on a personal level.
yeah,
And I'm wondering too, like if she's had a life where, well, I think many women do, like where they sacrifice, right?
yeah,
Like I
for sure,
sacrifice,
right?
or, and at the time it didn't feel like a sacrifice, it's because that's, you know, um,
Yeah,
what she
right. You
wanted
don't
to
think you're
do, or
sacrificing,
that was
right?
part of, yeah.
Yeah,
And now
yeah,
it's, I feel like she's at the point where like, this is it. Like, this is what I
yeah,
have now. And what about
yeah,
me? So I feel like she's a bit lost.
yeah,
Um, I feel, Trudy, though, if you were to make any too much of a drastic change, like it feels like um, you'd be unsettled with it. Like I feel like it's like nothing too drastic right now is how I want to go with it.
yeah.
Um, it's funny
Yeah.
because I feel
Well,
50s, isn't it a decade? Don't you feel the 50s is a decade? Like, when they say midlife crisis, or,
hmm,
and
yeah,
if I were to look at the 50s, as from a numerology point of view, like the five. So five is about,
yeah,
wanting to create freedom, wanting to change things in your life, wanting to move in a different direction,
yeah, right.
shaking things up in your world, whether it's by your own doing or not. So I feel that's what the decade of 50, the age of the 50s
Yeah,
is about.
right. Yeah, right.
Um,
I'm there. I'm 55 this coming year, and I get kind of a different take on it. Like, I think you're absolutely right with the 50s. You really start to understand who you are and what you believe in, but you got to go through some real challenges to get there. Like, you have to have your world. This is what I call like a self-imposing tower moment, Trudy, because you've been building this tower for over 50 years now. So this was me too. I had all of this set. I had all of this comfort and security, and I thought I saw the rest of my life in where I was at. I worked hard for it. I put in a lot of hours for it. I earned where I was at. But then you get into this kind of complacency mode where you're so afraid to give that up because it's safe and secure, and you know what tomorrow is going to bring, and that's a really good feeling when you know what tomorrow is going to bring.
yeah,
But the universe has this way of shifting. It's this the wheel of fortune. The wheel of fortune turns just a little bit because we are here for the contrast, to learn through the contrast. And so opinions start getting changed about you and your motives and what you're going for, especially in the workplace, mostly in the workplace, but at home too as well, because you're formulating all these ideas. You get into your 50s and you're like, okay, well, this works for me. And then all of a sudden it stops working for you. All of these things you used to rely on so heavily to get you through just stopped working.
yeah,
So you start carrying these burdens with you, and especially into your 50s, and those burdens get heavier and heavier and heavier. So she's saying, do I really want to upend my life at this point? The card that jumped out at me was the Fool, which was,
Mm,
starting over. And if not now, when? When are you going to upend your life? When are you going to take that chance on yourself? Sanity be damned. You are who you are.
yeah.
You're here for a reason. And these expectations that get put on you of who you are because that's who you were sometimes just need to be broken. Those burdens need to be put down.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's a feeling I get from this, and I'm not sure why. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that could work, is sometimes I do the question method. So I
Mm-hmm.
will, sit with, okay, what am I scared of? You know,
Yeah.
um,
Right.
what's the worst thing that can happen? Um, what if I do make certain changes in my life? What do I have in place that brings me brings me support that kind of calms it? So it's like
Right.
it's sometimes
Right.
it's looking at that way. So it could be like, do I, if it's about, let's say, making a big career change, is it like, okay, sometimes it's like, okay, do I
Yeah.
have enough saved just in case? Or do I
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
a partner that will pick up the slack financially if
That's right.
I can't
That's
find the
right.
right career or job, right? So sometimes it's just a
Absolutely.
matter
Yeah.
of asking certain questions and like seeing where the answers are, right?
And
Um,
Becky has such a good point too about starting small, like a different hair color, a different haircut. That's great to do in your 50s as well too. Start finding your style because your style's changed, your thoughts have changed, so that's a great idea, Becky. I love that.
yeah,
To start with the
yeah,
little things that make you feel better. Haircut, especially, is a great idea.
yeah, yeah. Um, Trudy also too responded. So she says, Tina, I think you nailed it. Oh, thank you. Not depression, but
Oh,
definitely sadness. Age has now
yeah.
never bothered me, but I almost feel like once I turn 60, it'll be too late, whatever it is. That's
Right. There's that
interesting.
sense of urgency. Yeah. I don't know what that is,
Yeah, so that
Trudy.
must
I don't get
be,
that either.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I want to say like, it's like she wants to, I think she has an idea of what she wants to do. Well, I guess it is, right? But it's like
Yeah.
what's holding you back? Ask the questions like what's holding you back? And it's like, where do those beliefs or answers come from? Because there a lot of times we don't
Yeah.
realize a lot of our beliefs, or some of the things that we buy into are not originally ours. It's what we've been told time and time
That's
again,
right.
whether it's through
You're
family,
so
through
right.
school, through the media, right? So it's like, get to
Mm-hmm.
that. Because and
Yeah.
sometimes it's a matter of like, okay, who inspires you, or where, because there are people out there, right? Like, okay, you're talking about age. So I wish I knew where to find it, but there is a story about um, public figures, okay, from different industries who reached their
Yeah.
success, like how long it took them to reach that success and at what age,
Yeah.
right? So the one that
Yeah.
came up to
Right.
mind, he's not around anymore, is Colonel Sanders, right? The guy who invented Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah.
So I believe he was like in his 60s or 70s when he started that.
Yeah.
And
I
it's
think
like
so. Yeah.
he took his pension money, or he only had so much money, right? Like he was risking his retirement on
That's
this
right.
idea, and
Yeah. Yeah.
where it took him. So
Risking
that's
everything.
just something,
Yeah.
right? And then another one is
Oh, yeah.
Abraham Lincoln. Like he had tried numerous times to be president of the US, and he finally did, like, I don't know, like after 10 times, I want to say it
Yeah.
took him quite, and he was, quite older, right?
Yeah. Well, look at Joe
So
Biden, 78,
Joe Biden, yeah. So,
right?
sometimes it's, yeah. Louise Hay. Louise Hay. I don't know if people are
Yes.
aware. So she
Oh,
started Hay House, right?
amazing. Yes.
With all the different
Yes.
spiritual types of
Oh,
books and
yeah.
readers, right? So she
Oh, she
was,
was an
I think, in
earth
her
angel.
50s, yeah, 50s or I want to say
Hmm.
her 60s when she started that company, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel,
She was.
Trudy, I want to say baby steps with you.
Yeah.
I know that's not a direct, yes, go for it, or no, don't. Um,
Yeah.
but I feel like, baby steps and,
Yeah.
test, it's almost like you need to test your boundaries. And with the baby steps, it's like,
Right.
okay, that wasn't so bad. And then like your next move might be bigger and then the next move bigger, right? So that
Yeah.
could,
Right.
hopefully that helps and that can give you, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And it feels like it pulled. I did pull out the Two of Swords. Was the first card too as well. This to me was her decision making. But if you see, she can't quite see all the facts. She's in the dark a little bit here too. So
yeah,
you might want to wait until you know more too. Maybe you don't have all the information that you need yet.
yeah. And I mean, what was I going to say? I believe too, I mean, we don't always do it. And sometimes I'm guilty of it too. Like I'll feel overwhelmed and feel like, what do I do? Even though I'm feeling a pull, I need to change something in my life, is
Right.
ask the universe for help. And it can be like plain as like I ask the universe, right? Or I ask the angels, or I ask
Yeah.
sometimes it can be a loved one that
Yeah.
passed over and just let it go. Let it be. Like try not to think about it
Yeah.
too much or control it too much, once you release it. So yeah,
Yeah. Right. Exactly right. Yes.
yeah.
And things will get better. And I don't know what that urgency is either, Trudy. I feel like everyone is feeling this sense of urgency, and I'm not really sure what it is. I think it's just a collective energy to be through these dark times. Like, I think people are just really feeling a sense of anxiousness to get through this and onto the other side of it, to where we start getting momentum of
Right.
some empathy and compassion and tolerance. And, so I think we're all
Yeah.
just anxious to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
But it's never too
yeah.
late. That's the most
No,
important thing. It's never
no,
too late to
no, it's
start over.
not.
Yeah.
It's not. No, not at all. Kathy,
Hi,
um,
Kathy.
yeah, Kathy shared something. So I'll read it out loud because it's quite long. So
Okay. Yeah, your eyes are better.
I just find COVID has thrown so many curveballs. It has. I lost my job after 20 years, been faced with numerous medical issues not covered. It's added a huge strain on my marriage,
Mm,
even just within
yeah.
myself. I know I'm not alone, but I'm starting to wonder what I should do. Do I need bigger change than I realize? And is it the right time to change my entire path with all my health issues? Wow.
Yeah. That's so much, Kathy. I mean, you have just really been through, like everyone else, I mean, but such hard things to be faced with, especially the job loss and the insurance, the medical, there's nothing worse than that,
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. And if you don't feel
still,
good,
yeah. Yeah.
then it's hard to find the good in your life, or it's hard to feel like you can move
Yeah.
forward or make any changes when you're not feeling well because
Right.
you're in pains and it's like yeah,
Right.
um yeah, not
But
covered.
I think a lot of it goes down to, as the collective too, just as a collective thing in the job loss after 20 years, it takes it's a stab to the gut on your value and what you're worth. And so I don't care if you're feeling like you start these jobs and you contribute so much and everybody just loves your ideas and you're working together with everybody so well, and then, that shift always happens where somebody's like, well, I'm doing her work and why that's not fair. That comes up. That's not
Yeah,
fair. Whatever it is, whatever that is, and that starts growing because as we know, gossip grows much, much faster than truth or facts, You know, it's that telephone game. So all of a sudden, 20 years later, they're saying you're not worth it, and you're like, what the
Yeah.
fuck? What do you mean I'm not worth it? And so how do you get that feeling of worthiness back? How do you rebuild your self-worth after an event like that? Let alone the sickness. And that makes me think that that's part of what contributed to that illness, is because you were in such dis-ease over that, people telling you you're not worth it. And you absolutely are worth it. How dare someone tell you what you're worth? How dare they? And when you get angry about that and you realize that they were wrong in that, whatever their reasoning was for that, you start to grow that self-respect back and self-worth back, you know.
Yeah.
And then you start to heal, and that's what you need, is to heal. Yeah.
Yeah. Kathy, I feel, what like I'm focusing on the part where she says, where she's starting to wonder what she should do. And I feel
Yeah.
I got to hit, like, you got to focus on your well-being. That feels like
Yeah.
that's your priority. So it's like, okay, you got to start. It's not about discounting any, like, the medical community or your medical issues. It's about, like, starting to take ownership of your well-being. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, let's say if you are on medication or you're getting tests or you're visiting the doctor so often, it's like, okay, yeah, you can keep that up. But also too, it's like, okay, what else can I do? Because it comes down to you. Everything in our life, it comes down to us ultimately, whether we like that or not. Okay. So it's like, okay,
Right.
can it be a matter of, okay, I'm going to start to eat better, right? So it's like, okay, I'm going to really make an effort and, cook better, eat better. That could be also too sharing that with the family, like, your marriage, your partner, getting, them involved as well. It could be a matter too of, like, okay, I'm going to start doing some sort of exercise or some sort of physical activity, and it doesn't have to be every day, and it doesn't have to be for like an hour or half an hour. It could just, where you start off slow, it could be like, okay, I'm going to walk around the block, or I'm going to, when I get up, I'm going to do stretch my body for 5 or 10 minutes. And then and just build on that. Just feels like you got to start taking your power. I feel like Kathy's lost her power. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Like, she feels
I think
like,
so too.
you know,
Yeah.
um,
That she has no power. She feels like she
right,
has no power.
right.
Yeah.
And I think maybe before she
But she
felt
does.
like,
Yeah.
everything was just so, and like, she knew what was what, right?
Right.
And now, like, all
She
that's
knew.
gone, and
Yeah.
it's like, it's just her. Like, that's what it feels like, even though she might not be alone in life, but it's
Mm-hmm.
just, now it's me, it's up to me. And it feels like, okay,
Yeah.
you've got to bring your power back. You've
Yeah.
got to bring things back. And it's not going to happen just like that, or, overnight,
Mm-hmm.
but slowly and surely, take baby steps. And I feel
Yeah.
like, um, focusing on your health, um, and once you start feeling better, it feels like, okay, then the next thing will come, and then the next. Do you see what I mean? And health,
Yeah. I do. Yeah.
the well-being, I'm not just talking about physical, like emotional, your spiritual, your mental, right? Because it's
Mm-hmm.
right now, like, it's so easy to,
Yeah.
especially when we've been shut down or quarantined, like, how
Oh,
many
yeah.
of us are more in
So
our
out of
head late,
control.
as of late?
Yeah.
We don't have the
Oh, yeah.
distractions like we did before.
That's right.
So, that's where a lot of
That's
our
right.
struggles are. Like, yeah, sometimes we're too much in our
Yeah.
head. Yeah,
Oh, absolutely. Because there's nowhere else to be right now. It's COVID has really restricted us again with the restriction. We are restricted in how our tomorrow looks to us. So you do feel out of control. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But I think you're right. Focus on well-being, focus on yourself, and you know, the marriage and the job and the money and the medical issues, everything else comes after that, after you
yeah,
feeling, yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
well
And it's,
and
yeah.
worthy. Yeah.
And it's interesting because, a lot of, well, not a lot, but the few that are here, like sharing their stories, the main word is change. And it's like, I can't help but think
Right.
like 2021, like in numerology, that's the
Mm-hmm.
number 5, and it's about change and freedom. So we're
Right.
all
Freedom.
feeling that
Yeah.
influence right now. And so that's just beginning. So everyone, I just want to tell everyone, like, hold on to your horses. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Change. I do feel everyone, it's going to be,
Right.
you know, 2021
Big.
is a year of change, and it's about creating
Yeah.
freedom in our lives. So, and we just started that,
Right.
okay? Like we're just in the beginning of that energy. So it's
Yes.
almost like, okay, you know, don't push it too much. Like, we make some small changes now, and it's like, what the changes that will make you feel better or feel like,
Right.
it's setting you on the right
Like you have
path.
some control, something you have control over, or maybe a hobby or you know your choice in music, something you have control over,
Yeah. Or
and
yeah.
focus on that for a few minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. Or something like, it'll make you feel good about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it can just
Yeah.
be, well, um, I'm gonna go clean my bedroom. Like some people find comfort in cleaning, and
Yeah.
some people find comfort in
Yeah.
exercising. Some people find comfort, I'm gonna say in,
Cheetos.
yeah, in food or drink, right? So it's,
Right.
yeah, yeah,
Right. There's many, many, many. Tina and I were talking about this earlier. There are many, many prisons to be in. There's all these little prisons that we're all suffering and we're all in. And freedom is the other side of that. That's the contrast, right there from prison to freedom. So it is a matter of just kind of hanging on a little bit and realizing that you're restricted. Yeah.
and you know what I would say about that? So it's like, I'm gonna say 2020 has been a year where I think we've been made aware of the prison that we live in. Even though we might have thought like,
Right.
okay, we're free or we have control or we're in our
Mm-hmm.
power, but 2020, I think,
Yeah.
you know, has been a
You're
year where like,
right.
oh, it our,
Yeah.
showed the limitations in our lives, whether they were personally or as a collective.
It did.
And now it's like people want to
That's
break
right.
free from that. But it's unsettling because that means like, what do we have to give up? What do we have to get rid of? And whether that's
Right.
something material, whether it's emotionally,
Right. Right.
spiritually, you know what I mean? It's something
I do.
that we have
I
to,
do.
yeah, break
Absolutely.
from. And at first that's scary because you don't know how it's going to turn out or if it's
Right.
the right decision. And I'm going to say like 2021 is a year too of making mistakes, and we're supposed to make mistakes.
Yeah. Right. You're
And
gonna fail
you
when you're
know,
starting. Yeah.
yeah, so just bear that in mind. So be gentle and be try to be good
Yeah.
about the mistakes. Like look at it as an opportunity or as a teacher, like, okay, I'm going to try again, but this time I'm going to do blah blah this, right? So that could be why too I'm getting
Right.
like people start
Yeah.
small or focus on something
Yeah.
tiny.
Oh,
So
it's
if you are
great.
making mistakes, it doesn't feel like my whole world is falling apart now because I made this big
Right.
change,
That's
right?
right. This huge
Yeah,
fail could affect the rest of your life. Yeah, it's small. That's such good advice. I believe that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not
Good.
easy.
It's not. It sucks.
No,
It's so hard. And the days feel so dark and you just want to see that light. You pray
yeah,
for it. You try everything to be positive thinking, and even that pisses you off after a while. And it's
yeah.
just a process, right? It just is.
Yeah, and I don't know how many people are going to receive this next bit. I want to share because I feel it's important and if they're going to remember this. But this decade, so from 2020 to 2029, like until we get to 2030, this is a decade where there's an underlying issue, no matter what's going on in our world, no matter if it's related to numerology, astrology, whatever. There's an underlying energy this decade where we are learning about trust. And a lot
Yes.
of times it comes down to trust.
Right. Right.
And that's
Who do
not
you
that's
trust?
not an
Yeah.
easy area, um, to feel,
Right.
comforted in or feel at peace with, right? So so whether
Absolutely
it's
right.
trusting another individual, whether we know them well or not, or trusting the system,
Yeah.
trusting, or even trusting ourselves, like, our own feelings, our guidance. So and it's a decade, very
Yeah.
emotional time, this decade.
Very,
Um,
very
yeah,
emotional. And you're right. It's the lessons of trust in this decade for sure. And boundaries. Boundaries have been a big lesson too. And who do you let into your inner little circle here,
yeah,
and
yeah,
who do you trust? Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
right.
yeah. And you had shared
Good
something
lessons
too,
to go
like,
in.
yeah. And the
What
reason
was it?
and how I'm going by that, even though I said it's not always about numerology or whatever, but it's, related to the numbers of
It
each
is.
year, because there's so many twos, right? Like the two,
Right.
um, is
Yeah.
influencing the
Right.
collective. And the other thing too is, and you brought that up before we went on air, was about the feminine and masculine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
it's
did. I
like,
saw this split. Right.
I don't know if you want to
Go
share
ahead. You
about
explain.
that, 'cause
No, you go ahead. What you were thinking about it, because that's what I was thinking, that
I
we were
feel,
going into
yes,
this shift of the end of the masculine energy. That was the gist of it.
yeah, yeah, and so masculine energy for hundreds of years, right? I don't know how far back
Right.
offhand that
Either.
would go,
Long
but
time.
a long time. So, the
Thousands. Yeah.
masculine energy, and I want to say it's even limited to distinct groups, right? So, I mean, we can
Hmm.
even go further detailed, like in the
Right.
masculine energy, like where they've held the power over the collective, or pushed,
Hmm.
and especially push, like, say,
Right.
like the feminine power. And it's not always about,
Hmm.
let's say, man versus woman. It's like, just the feminine energy in all of us, whether you're male or female, right?
Yeah. Has nothing to do with the sex.
And
Right. Exactly
so
right.
so it's like, this is, 2020 is the beginning of the rise of the feminine energy. And so it's totally opposite
Yes.
of, our structures and how everything's been built upon. And that's what
Right.
we're taking apart. And I feel like, with all this unsettling and people feeling this urgency to make changes, and they want to change their lives, it's like, I think it has to do with, like, being pulled by this feminine energy,
Yeah. Yeah.
where
Right.
we want more love, we want more joy, we want more
Nurturing.
nurturing. Yeah, like, it feels good in here first, instead of, let's say,
Yes.
maybe up here
Yes.
where the masculine
Right. We
operates, right?
Right. We want more of the Empress energy, we want less of the Emperor energy, that is institutions, the things we were brought up to believe, religious institutions, government institutions. Um, there's just an order type to the Emperor. The Emperor is very needed in earthly matters. The Emperor propels things forward on the
Yeah,
earth, because he's the masculine energy, the protector of the divine feminine energy. The masculine energy protects that energy. So I don't know that it was so much of a suppression of the divine feminine as it was a protection. Started out as, is the need
yeah,
to protect the divine feminine, but it's gone on for thousands of years. Every book ever
yeah,
written is talks about power struggles
yeah,
and the divine masculine. So I think the age of Aquarius is bringing in this big shift of the feminine energy and the divine feminine energy. And right, like you said, it
yeah,
has nothing to do with male or female. Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's almost like, I want to say, a lot of times I want to say like the feminine energy, I believe, operates on this premise of, from the heart, from the soul.
Yeah, right,
And it's about, okay, helping the other person, nurturing and embracing the
right.
other person and helping them that way. It's like, it's about like what do you need or what will help you, right?
Right.
Whereas I feel the
Right.
masculine
Yeah.
energy is about, okay, be tough and
Yes. Play the game. Right.
yeah, and
Right.
do this and you'll have your power. Like, it feels more structured, or put bringing out points. And it's like, it's not saying that's
Yes.
wrong, but it's like, okay,
Yeah.
it's not working anymore, right? Like it's,
Right.
sometimes I find
It's
with
the,
masculine energy, they'll say, um, you know, toughen up, right?
yeah.
Or
right. Yes. this will make you stronger. This will make you
yeah,
tougher. Right. But
yeah,
I was trying to find the Emperor card because the Empress too also represents Mother Earth, and I think we are all coming into a appreciation of Mother Earth and how she protects us and she provides for us, and she is our security. Mother Earth is so. The divine feminine also includes Mother Earth, so I think we are returning to a feeling of the divine feminine and and Mother Earth is all about reciprocity and fairness and balance. And because the Emperor tends to get this balance control going, the divine energy, the divine masculine energy, always is looking protect for ways to protect. So their guns get bigger,
yeah,
and that's just the way the energy is. Not men, but the energy of the masculine is that way.
yeah,
So it's just a shift. I feel like, yeah,
yeah,
right.
yeah,
And
yeah.
what were you
And
saying about December 21st?
before we before we went live,
Yeah, when we were talking on air.
yeah.
Yeah, something's happening December 21st
Okay, so
for this age of
I'm not
Aquarius.
like I'm not an astrology expert, and I don't know all the details or what it all, but there's in astrology on December 21st, so it's the first day of winter in the northern hemisphere, and then
Yes.
first day of summer in the southern hemisphere. So, but in astrology, so they're calling it that day is at the time of the grand conjunction, and that's ushering in the age of Aquarius at that time. So it's huge in, with the astrologers and, in the different astrology circles. And that could be what we're feeling right now, because even though I'm not an astrology
Yeah.
expert, I feel like, or it may be like, we're not all aware of all the details of astrology. I have this belief, like, you don't have to know all the details, or you don't have to be an expert. We feel it whether we're aware of it or not. So I feel like,
Yes.
as a
Yes.
collective, like, and maybe us, feeling like, oh, I like, weepy, I'm feeling sad, like things feel odd, like
Yeah.
something's coming, and it's like, okay, I bet it's related to this grand
To that.
conjunction in
Maybe
December.
maybe that's the sense of urgency we're all feeling. Maybe that's
Yeah,
maybe the people that have been in tune to this stuff, an empath, I guess, if we're all empaths, and we are, maybe
yeah,
that's what we're feeling, this sense of coming. Maybe it's our time for the feminine power to come in, and that just means
yeah,
such a different thing than the
yeah,
masculine power. So
yeah. And
yeah,
I feel too, like, you know on an energetic level, um, we we can anticipate things ahead of time, whether we acknowledge it or not, or whatever we name it, right?
yeah, right,
So
yes,
it's like, okay, so this big change is coming our way. So on an unconscious level, we could be feeling that energy is like, okay, I got to hurry up and make changes in my life. I got to hurry up, right? It's like
yeah,
this sense of
right,
urge. So
yeah,
that's where it could be. And I get that because, I was there last week too, like, and Julie was my
yeah,
pep talker over the weekend, right? Because I
yes.
felt so like,
I
defeated.
tried.
Yeah, but you did, like, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like, I was just feeling nothing's going right and nothing's moving forward. And I got to hurry up and get this going. And this has to hurry up and get fixed. And so it's like,
yes,
why is that?
yes,
Sometimes things
yeah,
unfold or happen at the right time and we just need to stay out of the way, right? Like get out of the way. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Patty shared something about
That's
it.
right. We
So
get in our own
Jupiter,
way so many times, you know.
yeah.
Right?
So she said Jupiter and Saturn are
Jupiter and
conjunct at
Saturn are
0 degrees
conjunct at 0
Aquarius,
degrees.
25,000 plus years. See, we were talking about this because we're coming out of the age of a
25,000
Pisces.
years.
That's a long time.
Yes, Pisces. Right? That's a long ass time. So no wonder
To
we're all
stay
feeling
in an
unsettled,
age.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So we're coming, yeah. So we looked this up. We're coming out of the age of Pisces and we're going into the
Yeah.
age of Aquarius. So it
Yes.
should be, I think that's what we're all feeling right now. And, this urgency
I
to
love,
change or feeling like things are out of
yeah.
control. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they are.
Yeah.
Because of Jupiter and Saturn, who's been messing with us for quite some time, right? Jupiter and Saturn have
Yeah.
been really messing
Yeah.
with us,
Yeah. And
right?
this is what I know. So Jupiter is what they call is a huge planet and they call it the great benefactor. So that means like it's a planet that likes to benefit us. And
Okay.
sometimes it can be too much of a good thing. So like sometimes, and a good example of that is like, let's say, um, you eat too much food and you gain too much weight. So that could be too much of a good thing, right? Like you're
Yeah,
eating too
right.
much food, right? Or too much
Yeah.
chocolate or
Yeah. It
whatever
tastes
junk
too
food.
good. Yeah.
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 Um, so Jupiter is that, and then Saturn is the opposite because Saturn is what they call the great teacher. So the Saturn is
Yes.
about responsibility and teach, like is the grown up, like teaching us about
Yeah.
responsibility. And so those are two big planets moving into Aquarius. So yeah, that's going to
That's
um,
be interesting, right? And Jupiter's all about
yeah,
expansion, you know, and we are all expanding rapidly from these circumstances themselves. So that makes total sense. You know, you got to look at the planets. They've been looking at them forever, you know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And
I wish I
I
knew
think
more, but
yeah, and yeah, I wish I did too. It's something, yeah.
right? I'm going to study it. I'm going to learn more,
Yeah,
dang it.
yeah. We might have to find an expert astrologer and have that person on one
Right?
of these shows. Wouldn't that be fun? Maybe that's what we'll have to do
Right?
too.
Yeah, you guys recommend somebody. You let us
So
know who who you watch in astrology. Oh, I would love to do that. You guys put in the comments after this
yeah,
who you get
yeah,
your horoscopes from. Yes.
yeah. Thanks for sharing that info, Patty. That's wonderful. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. So Kathy, we
Yeah,
got
that's
off
great. And
track.
the
So I
future is
hope,
female. I love that,
yeah,
Becky.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I hope what
Right?
we shared helped you, Kathy, too, earlier. Yeah. I
Yeah,
don't know if
I
anybody
hope
else
so.
has any other comments or anything they would like to add before we go.
Well, thank you
No?
guys so much for this input. I love talking about these things because together we can get through this ideas, little help, encouragement, you know, words of encouragement. We all need it every day, especially through these times. So I
Yeah,
really appreciate it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, what was I gonna say? When you're struggling, and you're in pain, um, I want to tell people like this is a time to explore solutions. So don't limit yourself
Yes.
to just one way or one answer.
Right.
So explore solutions, and it's like, and then go by your feeling, like, what feels good. And that could be, where you discover, okay, this was a mistake to, I don't know, like try this diet. Like let's say you try a diet, it's like, this is a mistake, it's not working. It's like, okay,
Right.
then explore and find something else, right? Um, so it's a good time
Yeah,
to
for
explore
sure.
and, also to, you know, who can you, who can you, I don't know, who can be your cheerleader in your life as well. And
Yeah.
and that can and
Yeah.
that
And
can
be your own
change.
cheerleader too. Yes.
Mhm.
Be your own
Yeah.
cheerleader too. Don't discount what you add to this world and how much you matter. And don't ever let anyone tell you differently. You
Yeah.
matter. And
Yeah.
yeah, and remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know something, and I
And
forgot because I got off track. Go ahead, Julie. Go ahead.
yes. No, no, no. Go ahead. I was saying goodbye to
I was
Trudy
gonna.
because she had to go, but thank you so
Okay.
much.
I'm gonna say everybody has a superpower,
Yes. Right?
right?
Yes.
And it's like,
What is
okay,
yours?
discover, yeah,
Yes.
discover your superpower and use that, um, especially when
Yes.
times are tough. And if your superpower is, I don't know, what could be a superpower? What's your superpower?
I have, well, I feel like it's in the cards now that I've studied the cards, the tarot cards, and I use the tarot cards to distract myself from this horrible year that I had going on, and I used it to just numb my mind, and then I just went all in on the tarot cards. It was all I wanted to do. So I feel like um, sometimes the universe is throwing you these really, really hard things. So you have to look at what you're distracting yourself through those things, because sometimes that's the angels nudging you in that direction, you know?
Yeah,
Like if something's making you feel better to get over these super hard times, and you're just finding yourself, well, I can't wait to get back to this, whatever this
yeah,
is to clear my mind.
yeah,
Maybe that's what the angels are guiding you toward. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and some people, I mean, it doesn't have to be something complicated, your superpower. Like and it can be more than one thing.
Right.
That's the other thing, right? So
Oh yeah.
the first thing that came to my mind, my superpower
Yes.
is
What is it?
crying.
You've mastered it.
I've mastered it. So, and I've come to, just be at peace with, like, I've accepted that. Because, there was a lot of times I felt like
Yeah.
I got to hide that. I have to hide that I can cry so easily, or it doesn't take
Yeah.
much to get
Right.
me to
Yeah.
cry. So it's like, you know what? That's my superpower, because once I finish crying, I feel better.
Right. And
Okay.
and
The
to express
problem, or
yourself is a magical thing.
yeah. So
It
it's like, it
is.
might not,
So yeah.
yeah, it might not be gone, but I feel better. Like, I feel this release. It's like, okay, I feel lighter. That's
Yeah.
how I want to put, like, I feel lighter after I
That's
cry.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, okay.
Yes.
And
So
someone
yeah,
else said,
you teach people how to cry.
yeah, yeah, or I can
Because they
cry
don't know
for
how
you.
to, really. It's true. Or you could, yes, you could cry for them. But
Yeah.
it's true. Getting in touch with that part of your emotional, it's hard to be out of control. As we know, it doesn't feel good to be out of control. And when you're really letting go, you're letting yourself be fully out of control. And that's wonderful because you come back to yourself even stronger. So
Yeah. Okay.
yes.
All right. Well, do you have anything else you'd like to add before we close the show?
No, but I love Becky and turning negative into positive, and it's all about that perspective. She's always right with that perspective, Becky.
Yes.
You got it
Yes.
right.
Yes. That's
So
right. And
thank you.
yeah, it's like, find the gift in it. So it's like, so when I'll share this, example. So I dropped my phone, like, that was my own fault. Wasn't paying attention when I thought I was putting it down on the counter, and no, I didn't. So it was like, I need to get a new phone, and it's going to cost me more money now. My monthly bill is going up.
Yeah,
And I was
yeah.
like, and usually I'd be like, darn it, like, that extra money could go better for here, or, I could save it, whatever. And I'm right away, it was like,
Hmm.
oh,
Right,
maybe that's good. First, I'm getting a better phone.
right.
And then the other thing is, like, that's going to help on my income tax return, because I have a higher expense to claim. So
Right
it's
off.
like, okay, that'll help. That'll be, so that's where
It
I went
will.
with it. And it's like, so I'm just using an example. So when you feel something
Yeah,
terrible has happened, try to, work out, okay, what is the gift in this, or what's the positive? And I think that's what
yeah,
Becky is pointing out,
yeah.
I believe. Yes.
Absolutely. Yes,
Oh,
I agree with that.
okay. Okay.
So good. Thank you, everyone. That's all I have.
Yeah, me too. So thanks everyone for listening. and for those that were brave to share their struggles, because especially with the public, right? That takes a lot. So we really
Yes.
appreciate that. We hope what we shared today helped you in some way, some manner. And if you're
Yes.
interested in reaching out to one of us, you can. We're here to help. So Julie's email is there on the bottom. If you'd like to contact her, and then I'll share mine. And there's my email. And if you missed those, just send a message, private message on the Facebook page, and we'll share our emails
Yes.
again. Thank you, everyone, again. So yes,
Thank you, everyone. Hi, Chrissy. I see you. Thank you so much
yeah.
for coming.
So
Okay. Have a great week, everybody.
yes, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.